An inmate at the California State Prison, San Quentin. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
You want to talk about the verdict first?
Wow, it was crazy. There was just like this amazing, horrible physical reaction that I had. I couldn't feel my feet on the floor. I couldn't feel the chair I was sitting in. My vision was even a little blurry. And I just had this weird sensation that I was falling forward and down, and there was going to be no end to this falling forward and down, like there was no floor to land on. I was staggered by it. I had no idea it was coming.
The case of State versus Scott Peterson, to me, feels like it just happened yesterday.
Lacey Denise Peterson is 8 months pregnant. She's considered a high-risk missing person under suspicious circumstances.
She just vanished, and it turned into a media storm within days.
Please, please, please let her go. Bring her back.
We love her so much. We want her back.
24/7 news is entertainment. Like any good entertainment, there's a formula for winning over the audience. Find a defendant who's enviable. O.J. Simpson. Are they wealthy? Martha Stewart, Kenneth Lay. Are they powerful? Scooter Libby or Gary Condon. Are they someone who depends on their popularity for their livelihood? Kobe Bryant.
I'm innocent.
Michael Jackson. And probably most importantly, are they attractive, or is the victim attractive? And that's Scott Peterson and Lacey Peterson.
It had all the makings of just the regular soap opera.
He was hiding a girlfriend.
We did have a romantic relationship.
Everybody likes an inspirational story, but what makes you tune in to watch a show day after day after day is because you're angry. To me, that was the formula.
We find the defendant, Scott Lee Peterson, guilty of the crime of murder of Lacey Denise Peterson.
With a great big smile on his face. Well, guess what, Scotty?
San Quentin's your new home.
And it's illegal to kill your wife and child in California.
There were just too many things that you would have to ignore to think that he didn't do it.
I remember Scott referring to his wife in the past.
With the information I had in that trial, he was guilty.
Eventually, he'll be put to death. I mean, if it was my child, that would be extremely difficult to deal with, but he's not my child. Because he murdered my child. So as far as I'm concerned, he's where he needs to be.
They have a conviction. They believe in that conviction in their heart of hearts. So will they be looking into what happened to Lacey and Connor? No, they believe they know already. I believe they got it wrong.
If you know this case from watching television, probably almost everything you believe to be true about the case is not.
There was no biological evidence, no forensic evidence whatsoever that pointed to the guilt of Scott Peterson.
The reason the police weren't able to find any evidence of a murder inside this house is because no murder occurred inside this house. The important house was this house. This house was being burglarized.
After I talked to the policeman and gave him my statement that I had seen the dog in the park, nothing was followed up.
There's at least 11 witnesses that saw Lacey that day. This is all while Scott's at the office on his computer. So he's innocent.
They wanted a bad guy in this case. Nobody wants to hear, we don't know what happened.
I wasn't the last one to see Lacey that day. There were so many witnesses who saw her walking in the neighborhood after I left. The cops just never followed up on the burglar across the street. The police failed to find my family.
What if he didn't do it? What if he didn't do it? Is that a real question?
It's not every day that a zookeeper went to prison for murder for hire.
There are more captive tigers in the U.S. than there are in the wild throughout the world.
Animal people are nuts, man. They're all crazy. I'm sure y'all got a story to tell.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Joe Exotic, and this is Sarge.
He was like a mythical character living out in the middle of bumfuck Oklahoma who owned 1,200 tigers and lions and bears and shit.
You're a man, love me. Man spoken, good looking, love to party and have fun. I don't think we're done blowing shit up today.
I don't figure you are.
They have a heart and a soul and a mind. I've learned from them. But Carol Baskin keeps saying, I can't have these tigers.
If he ever had an enemy in his life, it was Carol Baskin.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens, it's Carol at Big Cat Rescue.
Carol is the Mother Teresa of cats.
We will end the private possession of these cats.
This is my way of living, and nobody's gonna tell me any otherwise.
Carol has an army of people working for free.
She's a plain out hypocrite. She literally does everything that I do.
So Joe says, will you go to Florida and what?
Kill that fucking lady.
What a story. And it got way bigger.
Sometimes they say that I'm the prototype for Scarface.
We're supposed to be sexy, and we're luring people in.
You may now kiss the grooms.
You're gonna have to kill me to shut me up. This is my first album, I Saw Tiger. There's 28 songs and 16 music videos.
I saw Tiger, now I understand.
We're all happy and live happily ever after, as much as that's possible.
It's been almost 10 years since Salt Lake City mom Susan Cox Powell was last seen. The mystery surrounding her disappearance has taken twists and turns. It even resulted in the death of the 2 children she left behind, along with the only person of interest in her case, her husband, Josh Powell. Susan's friends and family are still looking for answers. Their story is told in a 2-part documentary by the Oxygen Network.
Susan was extremely outgoing and very friendly and such a fun person to be around. Whenever she would see someone new, she would go up to them, introduce herself, say hi.
Kiersey Hellowell was Susan Powell's best friend. They met at church after the Powells moved from Washington to Utah. About a year after they met, Hellowell says Susan started to confide in her that her marriage to Josh was on the rocks.
Things were getting fairly bad, and it had been creeping up on her for a while. But he had started to be pretty controlling. He would tell Susan, I want you to go to this store and buy this one item because it's on sale this week, and then go to this other store and buy this other item. And he would insist that she show him the receipts to make sure that she didn't buy anything that he hadn't approved.
This is me. July 29th, 2008.
Hellowell says Susan didn't complain of physical abuse, but she was afraid of what would happen if she tried to leave Josh.
She'd say, I'd get divorced from Josh in a heartbeat, except worried that he's going to do the same thing. He's going to kidnap the kids and I'll never see them again.
Then one December Monday in 2009, the family was suspected to be missing when the Powells didn't show up for work, and their sons, Charlie and Braden, hadn't been dropped off at daycare. Later that night, Josh and the kids returned home without Susan.
I've been trying to figure out what I can do so I don't sit idle.
Josh claimed he took the boys on a camping trip in the middle of a snowstorm and Susan stayed home. It was an odd explanation, but without evidence of a crime, police couldn't make an arrest. Kiersey Hellowell says Josh's behavior afterward gave her a bad feeling.
Josh didn't really let anybody that was close to Susan or the boys be around the boys at all that first week, because I think he was afraid that the boys would talk to people that they trusted and that they cared about. And I was just kind of feeling like totally in shock that first week. I was sick to my stomach. I couldn't sleep. I didn't want to eat anything.
Utah police were still investigating Susan's disappearance after the case had gone cold. Then in 2011, Josh's father, Stephen Powell, made shocking claims.
Susan was very, very sexual with me. She was very flirtatious. I mean, I'm her father-in-law. We interacted in a lot of sexual ways because Susan enjoys doing that.
Stephen Powell had been arrested the previous year on child pornography charges and then gave explosive interviews claiming he was having a sexual relationship with Susan. Claims that were disputed at the time by Susan's father, who said his daughter was being sexually harassed by Stephen Powell.
My daughter told me that Stephen Powell had done some things that made her uncomfortable, and that was one of the reasons they moved to Utah from Seattle.
Police say they found home videos Stephen Powell made of Susan, allegedly recording her without her consent and sometimes in intimate situations. Susan's parents were granted temporary custody of the couple's children. Then in February 2012, the unthinkable happened.
Whoa!
He blew up the house and the kid!
After Charlie and Braden Powell were brought to their father's home for a supervised visit, he blew up the house with all three of them inside. No one survived.
Hello, this is Josh. I'm wanting to say goodbye.
It was a heartbreaking end to an already tragic story. Susan's loved ones feared with Josh's death, they would never get answers about what happened to her. They created a Facebook page to keep Susan's story circulating.
We still have hope that we will find Susan and that we will be able to find out what happened to her and lay her to rest beside her boys. But the second thing that has really become a big focus the last few years is that we are trying to spread awareness so that if anybody is in a situation like Susan was, they can recognize the signs because they've seen her story and get out.
I can vividly remember finding Kathleen.
911, where's your emergency?
My wife had an accident. She's still breathing.
What kind of accident?
Down on the stairs.
Kathleen Peterson was found dead at the bottom of the couple's staircase.
Peterson's husband is novelist Michael Peterson.
The cop was on me instantly.
There was sufficient evidence to warrant a trial.
The injuries are not consistent with a fall down the stairs.
The charge, first-degree murder.
No way in this world my father ever would have hurt Kathleen.
We're like, Dad, we believe you.
He wanted to give the appearance that this was a wholesome, functioning family. Well, that simply is not true.
Mr. Peterson was bisexual.
I understand you'll want to pump the ratings, but give me a break.
I don't think the DA cares about truth anymore. This has become a show.
The back of the head was struck 3 times.
Dwayne Deaver had a pattern of preparing misleading expert reports.
Scientists are not supposed to take sides.
The murder case against Michael Peterson doesn't just involve his wife anymore. It involves a friend who died 18 years ago.
At the bottom of a staircase.
Okay, well, you guys got a much better film now.
They lied, they cheated, they did everything to convict me.
There was cleanup by the police.
Shook the foundations of my beliefs in the justice system.
The system is flawed and it needs to change.
This is contamination in the crime scene.
The DA is trying to say that our dad killed our mother.
There's no murder weapon, there's no motive.
But we're sitting behind our dad.
It never occurred to Michael Peterson that people wouldn't believe him. That's really what this is all about. He thought he'd get away with it.
Are you ready? The internet is boundless. There's the happy places, and then there's another part of the internet, the seedy underbelly. I was on Facebook one day,
and I found this video. I pressed play.
It was the worst video I've ever seen.
He needs to be stopped immediately.
People went nuts. So we started looking. He could have been anywhere on the planet.
This person wants to play a game of cat and mouse, and I'm up for that. There's a lot of information in the video. You see a door handle, electrical receptacles.
Everything pointed to North America. But then
You hear some voices.
it was Russian.
Oh, maybe he's located in Russia.
Thousands of people looking to find this guy. There was a tidal wave of leads that were coming in.
I wasn't gonna stop until I found him.
Clearly, this video is not the end.
Something bad is about to happen. He's gonna kill somebody. All of a sudden, another video appears. My mind doesn't want to believe it's true.
These are the things, the telltale sign of somebody that's going to become a serial killer.
We had a ticking time bomb on our hands.
Twisted story that keeps twisting.
What I'm seeing is impossible. He's going to get the attention of the world now.
2 mysterious packages.
Le dépeceur de Montréal.
An international manhunt.
This isn't the first time. It's not going to be the last time. This is going to get progressively worse.
In the seedy underbelly of the internet, there's an unwritten rule, Rule 0. Don't fuck with cats.